It was a couple years ago where I was working on my thinking. I was looking at my resentments and my fears, the things I've been carrying with me for a very long time, and I processed them, and I started to see how I was creating the life that I live. And what happened as a result of the work that I was doing was I had a very profound spiritual experience. I was walking down by the beach one day, and it overcame me, and it just hit me. And
think about the conditions at the beach, in appreciation, open vortex.
It was the first time I ever felt worthy or deserving, and I wasn't beating myself up, and I was
first time
glad.
Ever that I let that worthy love that my inner being always offers to me, first time I let it in.
Yes. For the next couple months, I felt guidance from within. Like I would enter into a room and I would pick the perfect place to sit, right, and have great experiences. I would feel a deep inner glow, and then I seem to slide back into sloppy thinking.
It's all right.
And I go there quite often.
It's easy to turn back into an observer of variety rather than a selective sifter. But you can't get very far into it without launching a rocket of desire that says, I like the feeling of alignment more. Now you know what you know. You can't slip far. And that's really why we talk about step 5. Getting back into some resistance and not being mad at yourself is the most important part, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's hard because I know that I'm doing it and I know what's possible, but for some reason, I don't do the stuff that...
Well, here's the reason. The reason is because law of attraction, an equal opportunity employer, will cause momentum on whatever thoughts that you're giving your attention to. And so sometimes you're giving your attention to something and you don't realize you're doing it, and you get momentum. So that's why we're offering this analogy today about being more aware of where you're putting your engines on your train track. And from this point forward, you'll have an even keener awareness of that. So here's how it works with most people. We really want you to hear this. So let's say that you're, as you've just been describing yourself recently, where you identify a desire and then you sloppily think about it. So engine, opposing directions. Well, what happens then is, in knowing what you don't want, you again know what you do want, so another engine. But then you get practical and sloppy in your thinking, so you put another engine there. In other words, facing reality causes you to put the engine in opposition to your desire. So now it's getting a little more tense, and now you really know what you don't want, because you not only don't want where you are, but you don't want the tension either. So now you not launch another rocket of desire that has something more to do with wanting to be better at this and wanting to be more deliberate. And so another engine, and then you beat up on yourself because you're not as deliberate as you want to be. So another engine. So now the stakes are getting greater, aren't they? Because you're pulling yourself in both directions. Now what can happen, and what does happen to a lot of people, is that they get so much momentum going in opposing directions that then something big snaps, where you just finally just can't take it anymore, especially because you had that empowering moment on the beach, especially since you've had so many moments of resonance as you're listening to our recordings or to other things that are inspirational. And so as this resistance gets stacked up, now you have a whopper of a desire that you launch, and that desire is so strong that you begin moving in the direction. Now you're dragging yourself. It's like the day Jerry and Esther had some of those big Prevost buses over 10 years. They had a few of them, and they towed a big car behind it, Suburban. And one day they had this sort of checklist that they went through, and Esther failed to release the parking brake on the car, and they dragged it behind the bus like a sled. Burned up the brakes. The brake fluid was so hot on all 4 wheels, the brakes were fried. The car was never the same again. But the reason we tell you the story is the bus in its power did not even feel the dragging of the car behind it. When your desire is strong enough, you can still move forward even if you've got some resistance. It's just hard on your brakes. So nothing can really go wrong. You could approach life in this way. You could want something and doubt it a little, feel the discord right away, clean up your vibration, get the doubt out of the way, and off you go. and then momentum would increase and it would get better and better and you'd have a lovely time. Or you could want it and doubt it, and then want it more and then doubt it more, and then want it more and then doubt it more, and then want it more and then doubt it more, and then want it more and then doubt it more, and then launch this gigantic rocket of desire that just drags you forward, and you say, I got to where I wanted to go, but it was a rougher ride than it needed to be. So the moral of the story is pay attention to how you feel more incrementally, which is really the point that you're making here. When you use the word sloppy thinking, that really is the operative word. Deliberate thinking is the other end of that. So let's use other words. Deliberate thinking, sloppy thinking. Let's use softer words. Thinking on purpose, thinking by default. Let's use softer words. Thinking more about what I do want and a little less about what I don't want. Let's use softer words. I'm doing a good job and sometimes not so good. Let's do even softer words, softer resistance. It's getting better and better. I'm understanding it more and more. Things really are working out for me. I like the clarity that's come to me. I know how it works. I often demonstrate how it works. Not all the time, but I'm doing really well. Just be nicer to yourself about it, because nobody's taking score on your progress except you. Your inner being isn't saying, look where he is. Have you heard nothing from us? There's none of that. There's none of that, because the contrast does bring clarity. So it's all good. Yeah.